Seriously, what in the hell is going on? Now that that's over, I want to get that key in here and drop the oil pan and see if I can find any loose bearings. Not sure if the microphone picked that up, but when you rev it up a little bit, it starts making that high-pitched tapping sound. And that sounds like timing chain, but it's not. I've already done it twice. Piston slap usually happens on a cold start and it goes away when the engine heats up. As you drive it and it heats up, it gets louder and louder. So I'm gonna see if it's rod bearing. It just doesn't sound like rod bearing. But then again, this is a tiny little 1.6, so you never know. We'll see what happens. Yes, so the timing cover has to come off to get to the upper oil pan on these. So that means valve cover has to come off, timing cover has to come off, then you can get the upper oil pan. But luckily, I have taken this thing off so many times, it doesn't even faze me anymore. I've seen other mechanics do really long ways around this too. You don't have to do a long way around it. Just take off what you need and nothing more. Put the screw back in where you found it, if it can stay. I think that's the best way. Kia motor expert. I saw some metal shavings in the pan. They look like bearing flakes because they weren't just like little metal shavings and stuff like that. They literally look like flat pieces of foil. So that's usually bearing. I don't know if you can see them too well. Right there, there's a couple down there. They look like foil. So hell, it might just be bearing. But it wasn't super bad when I first got it. There was a couple times where it got really loud and we didn't drive it much more after that. We kept chasing the wrong thing. So I'm gonna go all the way, take the oil pan off, and check the rod bearings. Might as well check the crank bearings too while I'm at it. I can get both sets local and pretty cheap. So anyways, let's get back into this. Why'd you have to do that? I am not a big fan of the Fel-Pro gaskets. Those rubber ones, they swell up and expand. That's a brand new gasket, and it is a lot larger than the valve cover it's supposed to be going into. So anyways, I've looked at everything in here. All the lash, everything looked great. There's no abnormal wear, nothing like that. There's no sludge buildup. The CVVT sprockets don't rattle, they're not loose. Perfect. The chain has good tension on it because I already done the timing twice already, thinking I had bad parts the first time. So now, timing cover. All in all, this is not a terrible job to do. But now I don't have a oil pan down there. I'm gonna have to find another place to put the floor jack. And you absolutely don't need a 2-post lift or anything like that if you're just doing the timing chain, because I've done it twice on the ground. The post is just me raising it up and draining fluids out, and you can drain fluids on the ground, no problem. All right, what's next? And yes, I am doing all of this with the battery still hooked up. And you technically don't need to move this mount, but it gives you a little bit more clearance if you do. And it's so easy, why not? I really should have cleaned off and organized my tools before doing this, but I kind of know where everything's at still, so why not? There we go. This is definitely not my usual content, but not a far cry from what I do day to day on normal weekdays when I'm doing my job. So, why not? Show you a little bit of what I normally do. Even though this is fixing up my wife's new car, she's excited to drive it, but I ain't letting her drive it until the motor's fixed or replaced. Depends on what I find. Okay, so 17, 14. Honestly, in my opinion, the hardest part of doing this job is just cleaning up the surfaces to reseal them. I really wish they would just O-ring gasket everything, make my life easier. But you have to clean off old silicone and reseal it. It's just like extra steps, more pain. And we do not have a parts cleaner here at this shop. And I need to get one because I'm about the only one that does engine work, and I like having clean stuff when I'm going back together with engines. So a parts cleaner is kind of a big deal for me. That wasn't supposed to happen. There we go. Yeah, you can do it with the battery hooked up. As long as you don't turn the key on with everything unplugged, you won't set any codes. And if you're able to hang the alternator to the side without unplugging the alternator, you're in no danger of shorting out anything. So, here we go. I did not have any coolant in here because when I put it together last, I wanted to make sure it cured the problem before I put coolant, and it did not. So I left coolant out, and I was able to just drive it in real quick. It only took like 5 seconds, and I don't have to drain coolant. It's already out. So when it comes apart, no mess, which is great. So. This is literally my third time in 3 weeks taking this valve cover off. Or 4 weeks. The first time I didn't know I was going to buy this. I was just working on it. But I guess when they decided to sell it, I jumped on it. Because other than the engine, Kia Souls, to me, in my opinion, are pretty sound cars. The interiors are super nice on them. I don't ever see these have electrical problems, not like Chrysler. Chrysler's loaded with electrical problems. And when I say Chrysler, I mean Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. The only thing is Kias don't have an immobilizer. They're just like old cars. You straight up turn the ignition, key or no key, they'll start up and go. So I've looked into getting an aftermarket immobilizer, and I can tie it into like a fuel pump circuit or something. So yeah, that'd be nice. Or an ignition circuit, probably even better. Or I can tie it into the ECU circuit. Literally, if you don't have the tag with you, and someone tries to start the car, it's going to be a bad day, because it won't start. I really should get my other ratchet. Hopefully the cooler isn't making too much noise pollution as I talk. Guess we'll find out. Just a series of 10 millimeters and home free. System from last time worked itself up to the water pump. Only a couple drops came out. I do have a 2-post, so this makes it way easier. camera here. Here we go. I won't be working from this angle, so the camera can look right here. Now the cover can come off. If it wants to. Not the easiest cover to come off, that's for sure. And we're going to drip oil all over my camera. Because there's always a little bit of oil in the oil pump. I'm not the biggest fan of kitty litter. I like to just do the pile of rags trick. But the sooner I get this out, the cooler is blowing, the oil drips around. But the sooner I get this out, the sooner it'll stop dripping. Come on, man. Yeah, here we go. Like I said, not the worst job in the world. It can be done pretty quickly, but cleanup is a bitch. Now we can get that lower pan off. So to get the lower pan, I gotta unbolt the AC compressor, unbolt that bracket for the catalyst, and that should be it. I've not taken this pan off before, so I don't know about any of the surprises that await, but I guess we shall see. I want to find out. Yep, nice and tight. Okay. AC compressor. The soft lines. It'll literally just dangle. which is good. If I can get this connector. I am not seeing something here. Should just squeeze. Come on. That. Of course, if I absolutely have to, I already have plans to buy a new long block. But this is just one last effort to see if it's just going to be a simple fix. And I can save me nearly $2,000. That's $2,000 I can spend on Dumpty. From what it looks like, I don't have to unbolt the upper ones, at least not all the way. I can probably loosen them, so this gives a little bit of clearance if it needs it when it drops down. So, I have an idea anyways. It's adding a little bit of capacity to the oil. Basically, I want to copy this trim ring right here, make it 1 inch thick. Same thing with the oil pickup, it just drops straight down 1 inch thick, and that 1 inch times whatever this area is, it'll give me my volume. I should calculate that real quick to see how many. I think it's going to be under a quart, but it'll certainly help. I want to see how much capacity it's going to add. Give me 1 second here. Alright, well, I calculated it to be roughly 42 cubic inches, and that would bring it up to 3/4 of a quart extra capacity if I was just to put a 1 inch spacer around it. I would like to get more than 1 quart, maybe like 5.5 quarts. So what I can do is probably just redesign a whole pan that'll come down. It'll give it that 1 extra inch down here, and then it'll come and kick forward and just have all this extra capacity right here. I don't know why they didn't just do that from the factory. It would make longevity a nice thing to have. So I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna see if I can't just make one out of a mild steel and weld it up. We'll see. And if it looks good and it works good and gives like an extra 1.5, 2 quarts, then I'll probably just make a bunch and sell them. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Kia owners that would love to have extra oil capacity. Alright, so let's get back into taking this lower pan off. Start loosen up compress the AC compressor. That one reminded of a ratchet. In hindsight, this is probably something I should have done the last time I took the timing cover off. But before, I was completely dead certain that it was going to be timing issues. I thought I had a bad part when I replaced it because I took the valve cover off, spun the engine over, and the timing chain was slack again. And I was thinking that the timing chain was beating around in there. I thought that's what the noise was because it just did not sound like a rod knock. But now that I see that there's bearing material in the pan, like whole sheets of it, but no glitter. So maybe it just started to wipe itself out and it's not gotten into the steel yet. So we're gonna remedy it before this engine tears itself apart. What was the next here? We had quite a few 14s, quite a few 12s. Let me get the 14s first. That's bell housing. Hopefully there's nothing crazy and hidden on the transmission side that's going to prevent me from pulling this out easy. Oh yeah, looks like this mount does not bolt to the oil pan, so that's nice. That can continue to support the engine. Okay, and that's the bottom of the pan right here. So it's just these four 14mm bolts. There's a bracket for the exhaust. Only one bolt on that one. The other one's on the block itself. So let's see. Need a wrench. And the rest look like 12mm. Man, there's almost no rust on that exhaust manifold. This is a very, very clean car. Hope you can understand why I decided to buy a Kia. It was the right price for 60,000 miles and way too clean to pass up. Looks like there's a bolt on the top side of that oil filter. Those separate. boys. Now those hidden bolts within the lower oil pan. This is our inside. There's two more right here. Okay, and then that one last hidden bolt above the oil filter. That I was not aware of until I happened to just look at it. Imagine if I didn't see it, I just started fucking yanking on this oil pan. Watch there be another one somewhere else. That would be stupid. This will we will see. Okay, this little bracket is on the block. That's the sensor. Crank position sensor. Does not really come out. Okay. Leave that sensor in place. Just go up to the bracket. Luckily, the sensor can stay in, and it's hooked to a bracket on the block, and there's a connector right there. Cool. Well, let's start prying on it and see what happens. Now the question is, where do you start prying on it? Maybe right here. Yeah, definitely separating. What else? Is there another bolt somewhere? Or no, I'm literally just torquing against the bell housing. I need to pry on it from a different angle. Yay. Where can I pry you from? Well, I found it. There is a dowel either in the transmission or the oil pan. And that dowel was stopping me from coming down. So I figured it out. I tried to Google it, didn't see anything on Google that was apparent in a timely manner. Anyways, it's starting to come, so let's see. How much more do I gotta go? That is tight. I don't understand why Kia had to design it this way. What if you just want to drop the oil pan without having to take the transmission out? They should not put dowels in an oil pan. That's just not smart. I don't have any other dowels stopping me. I got a safety chain over there. No other dowels, but the thing still doesn't want to come out unless there is another dowel. That is a very poor decision on their part if they put a second dowel in another spot and made it 90 degrees. Super poor planning on Kia's part. And only one. The other side doesn't have a dowel. It's just this dowel right here. That makes no sense. All the struggle because of a dowel. And there's probably a second dowel going 90 degrees of the first dowel. That is one long dowel. It is unnecessary. And somehow, this this oil pan is still holding on for dear life. It makes no sense. I have nothing that I can see that is holding it in any other location. There are no dowels on this side. Unless I am fighting the crank right now. Maybe I should loosen this transmission. But that's a whole nother can of worms. This dowel was a very bad idea. That dowel means you literally have to pull everything apart to get the oil pan. Because they put a dowel in the oil pan that is meant to be easy to remove. I think I am pressing against the crank, trying to fight this dowel to get the pan off. So. Thinking I should just cut it. Cut it. Cut the dowel. Look at that. Then, as you eliminate a lot of that dowel, it just drops right out. Or tries to, anyways. What you're holding on to over here is probably that end of the mount. Oh, the dipstick. Ouch. Gotcha. Okay. What else is there? I've fought quite enough here. Should probably just remove that. Oh, let's see. fighting before planning IKEA. They wanted to put one single dowel in here, and it makes no sense that they do that. I mean, why do you put one single dowel on one side of the oil pan? Oh, come on. I didn't cut flush on there, so there's still some dowel left. It's not so much where it's gonna stop me from pulling the oil pan now. Change my gloves again. Okay, so it's getting close to 6 o'clock. It was 5 o'clock when I got to the oil pan. So it took me an entire hour to remove the bolts and figure out the dowel pin. Okay, now I got this here bolt for this lower dog bone out here. Oh. Oh, there's a hidden mount. What the hell? Oh, let's see. Of course, that ain't gonna come out that way. That's a 17. Okay. Oh, one more. Here it is. Finally. And yes, technically I was pushing against the tone ring on the crank. Luckily it's a flexible thing, not a breaky thing. That dowel literally just needs to be a nub. It doesn't need to be so deep in there. Yeah, so they really want you to pull the transmission so you can pull the oil pan. Well, I said, no way. Okay, let me get all this extra drippy oil here. And let me start rocking around these connecting rods here. Oh yeah, cylinder number 1, that's moving around a lot. Number 2, just a tiny bit. Number 3, a tiny bit. Number 4, a tiny bit. I think number 1 is my issue here. So I am fully expecting to see some bearing left in there. And if we're lucky, no damage to the connecting rod or the crank. If there's damage, I can't replace the bearing, we'll just get an engine. If there's no damage, I can replace the bearing, and we don't need to get an engine. Question is, today is Saturday, am I able to get bearings and put this back together tomorrow so that it's not on my rack on Monday? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's making noise. Let's see if I can't get this camera closer. And maybe I can make it make the noise. Because it's a loud noise. Kinda. Let's see. Can you see rod number 1? If I grab both sides, let me get a flashlight. What's magnetic under here? Pulley, yes. So, I grab the rod and it's knocking. And it dripped cooling on me. Great. Anyways, this is our culprit. Cylinder number 1 rod bearing. And it's barely starting to fail because it does not make any noise at idle whatsoever. It only kind of makes a rattle noise when you rev it up. So, yeah, there's our culprit. Not a crazy amount of torque. It's just still so strange. When it ran, it did not sound like a rod knock. But then again, this is a tiny little Kia engine. So that rattle is most likely failed bearing. Look at that. No scarring. Very good. See, the bearing has stuck in there. So let me get these pulled out. All right. Whoops. That popped off sooner than I thought it would. Yeah. There we go. Barely started to fail. That's the foil that I saw on the bottom of the pan. So we caught it just in time. It took off enough to where it started making noise, but not so much where it started to damage the crank. The crank looks fairly decent. I feel a little bit of a groove on one side, but when you wipe it off with a rag and see how bad it is, it doesn't look too terrible, but we'll see. Oh, the other side of the bearing looks a little bit worse. Kind of makes me want to replace all the rod bearings because I don't think Kia is up to snuff. The other side of the rod looks fine. And the rod cap looked fine. I'm trying to see if that's just a little bit of the bearing, like, welded itself and I can flake it off. Because it doesn't look like it's a groove. It looks like it's just material stuck to it. Let me get this rod up a little higher. Okay, let's start picking at that. Yeah, that's not grooving. I think that's just material stuck to the surface. Yeah, I could probably flake that off with a razor blade. The razor blade ain't gonna hurt that hardened surface. So. Yep, that's what it is. It's just flaking right off. It's just bearing material. I'm just glad that there's no damage. That's the best part. We caught it early enough. Yeah, as soon as they heard the noise, they were practically in a hurry to sell it. Kia would not warranty this motor because apparently it was a 2018 and they fixed the problem in 2017. So if this was a 2017, they would have warranted it. But it's having the same issues. That means they did not fix the problem. So I wonder how Kia got out of that. Need a Scotch-Brite so I can smooth that down. There's still a little bit more in another spot, but it's kind of hard to get to. I'd love to have some emery cloth if I could find some. I guess let me see if I can find some bearings so I'm not stuck on the rack here. These were the rod bearings. No damage on the cap. No damage on the crank. I need to get something to clean it a little better. I started scraping some of the bearing that stuck to the crank. No damage to the rod. So yeah, the only thing left is to get some emery cloth and try to clean that up some, because that's like foil right there. And then clean that up, polish it a little bit, and then we're good to go. I'm gonna do all 4 crank bearings. Or not crank bearings, but the rod bearings. I think the crank bearings are fine. All the teardown videos I've seen, they inspected the cranks and the cranks were fine. It was always the rod bearings. So I got some rod bearings coming from AutoZone. They're the only ones that carry them locally anyways. DNJ or DJN, whatever the brand is. I trust aftermarket more than I trust Kia on stuff like that right now because, well, Kia's been building these motors for almost 10 years and they never got it right. So I'm just gonna go with an aftermarket and deal with consequences if they should ever come. Yeah, so ordered the bearings. They'll be here Tuesday, and I'll do a part 2 where I put it together, start it, and see if it makes that noise.